آمریکایی‌ها بدونن که اگر
I'd love to see if we could make a deal. They've been
এর বাইরে আরেকটি এই
সংসদের সাধারণ নির্বাচনে নির্বাচিত মাননীয় সদস্যবৃন্দ, আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
কলম নাই দিয়েছেন সালাত স্যার।
On tonight's show, our top focus is on Geneva, where the US and Iran are back at the negotiating table. Over in Bangladesh, we have a new government which has sworn in. But that's not all. We'll also be analyzing the impact of US tariffs in the region. And in some fun news, today marks the start of the Chinese Lunar New Year, the year of the horse. To all our viewers of South Era Network, we wish you Xin Yan Kuai Le. A very happy Chinese Lunar New Year to all those celebrating. Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Sahil Murli Meghani and this is the South Era Report. To our top focus this Tuesday evening, big breakthrough achieved between Iran and the United States during the second day of nuclear talks. We can now report that both the countries have reached an understanding. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says the path of a deal has started, but serious issues still remain to be resolved. Tehran and Washington have been meeting in Geneva in talks mediated by Oman. The discussions follow repeated US threats against Iran over its deadly crackdown on protesters last month, but also about Iran's nuclear activities. On another note, Iran has announced a temporary closure of the Strait of Hormuz today for live-fire military drills, and the Iranian supreme leader has threatened to sink a US warship. Joining me now from London is our reporter Shabnam Nasimi, who has been keeping a keen eye on the developments. To set the scene of where we are now, Shabnam, this is the incredible military backdrop by the US being developed in the region right now, but also by Iran's IRGC, who have been conducting exercises in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Shabnam, when we hear President Trump saying that he also wants a regime change, just how close are we to getting that deal? Shabnam, could you hear me? All right, while we try to reconnect with my colleague Shabnam, who, by the way, is going to give you a very deep perspective of how the developments are at stake, I guess we have Shabnam back with us. Shabnam, I was asking, how close are we to this US-Iran deal?
Hello, Sahil. Thank you for the question. Well, the Iranian state TV has reported that today in Geneva have wrapped up after almost 3 hours in the Swiss conference rooms. Iran's foreign minister Araghchi gave an upbeat and optimistic readout of the talks that the sides have reached an understanding on the main guiding principles and would move towards drafting text, but and also a full agreement. What a guiding principle in these discussions are is still up for us to figure out. But Iran has said that negotiations would be indirect and will only focus on Iran's nuclear program and not domestic policies, including its bloody crackdown on protests last month. And as we've seen, there's a build-up now of US military presence in the region, much higher than what it was last week. President Trump has said that the USS Gerald R. Ford, the world's largest aircraft carrier, has moved from the Caribbean Sea to the Mideast to join other warships and military assets. It has built up in the region. It's almost 700 kilometers away from Iran now. And there are now 12 warships in the Middle East. There are 8 air bases that the US could use across the region. And there's been an increase in the number of fighter aircrafts that are visible for most of those who work in open source intelligence at bases in Jordan that have been verified. And I think from what I'm hearing, military experts are saying that these latest developments show that the US has more depth and sustainability than it did with Venezuela a couple of months ago, meaning Trump can gradually ramp up pressure as was the case in Venezuela, while countering all potential responses from Iran.
So clearly, Shabnam, what I'm understanding from what you just said is that there are multiple layers to this story. I was just reading through comments on our YouTube feed from one of our viewers of South Era Network, and he was interested in knowing in what is at stake for both Tehran as well as for the US.
Well, look, I've had a conversation with a few friends who work in open source intelligence and have been tracking ships and aircraft in the region, and they've said very clearly that if things play out the same way as Midnight Hammer, which was the code name for the US attacks on Iran's nuclear facilities in June 2025, it will show that a strike is imminent. We also heard actually a few hours ago that Iran's supreme leader threatens to sink US warships as the nuclear talks continue. He actually said that a warship is a dangerous device, but more dangerous than that is a weapon that can send that warship deep under the sea. We've also heard in the last couple of hours that Iran has announced the temporary closure of the Strait of Hormuz in the Persian Gulf for live military drills, in a very rare show of force. And I think, look, what's really at play here is that President Trump has also made it clear that he wants to push for regime change. There are many hands at play here. We have the talks between the Iranian foreign minister and President Trump's representatives. At the same time, a military buildup and calls from the Iranian community, both inside Iran and outside, for regime change and the collapse of this Islamic Republic. So it's all very unclear as to where this is heading, but there's definitely no one way out, and it's...
Right. It's a fast developing story. Shabnam Nasimi there, people reporting live from London, helping us understand, putting that story into perspective. We are going to be on the top of all of those developments, so stay tuned. From Iran, let's take you to Bangladesh now, where Tarique Rahman has been sworn in as the country's new prime minister. During his election campaign, if you recall, Rahman pledged to re-establish Bangladesh's international partnerships to attract foreign investment. He also promised not to align too closely with any single country. Take a look at this report by my colleague Owais Zafar, in which he looks at the challenges that Tarique Rahman will be facing as Bangladesh's prime minister.
Bangladesh has entered a new political chapter. With Tarique Rahman now formally sworn in, the celebrations of victory will be replaced by the responsibility of governing. After one of the most consequential votes in a generation, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party has taken power, ending years of political dominance by its rivals. But beyond the ceremony itself, the real story of this transition lies in how voters experience the election and what they now hope will change. Across much of the country, voters described an atmosphere that felt markedly different from previous elections: calmer, organized, and largely peaceful.
This time is very important. This feels like a new beginning for the country. So that's why I came to vote.
For Bangladeshis, the vote was driven less by ideology and more with everyday concerns: rising costs, limited opportunities, and a desire for political change after years of tension.
আমাদের এই যে চাকরির বয়সে যে চাকরি করতেছি, আগে যে দিনকাল গেছে আর এখনকার দিনকালের সাথে আগে অনেক ডিফারেন্স হয়ে যায়। আগে 1000 টাকা বা বাজারে নিয়ে গেলে মাছ মাংস অনেক কিছুই করা যেত, আর এখনকার 10000 টাকা নিয়ে গেলেও কিছু হয় না।
Economic pressure and frustration with governance shaped the mood long before polling day arrived. For younger voters, many shaped by the upheaval of recent years, the election carried emotional significance.
Every time I see watch this ink, I feel very excited. First time vote, and we have much expectation new elected government and parliament members.
In regions like Sylhet, where BNP support has historically run strong, the outcome reflected both political loyalty and hopes for economic revival.
Alhamdulillah, they successfully won this election, and overall the election was great in Sylhet city beside other state of the Bangladesh.
Now, with a new government in office, attention has shifted rapidly from campaigning to delivery. Voters say their priorities are immediate: jobs, infrastructure, economic stability, and stronger links with Bangladesh's vast diaspora. Yet, even among supporters, expectations remain cautious. But beyond the optimism, the new administration inherits a far more difficult reality: rising living costs, pressure on foreign reserves, and a deeply polarized political landscape mean expectations may collide quickly with economic limits. For many voters, this moment is not only about political change, but whether that change can be felt in everyday life. The oath has been taken, but the hard work now begins. For Bangladesh's new leadership, the challenge is transforming public optimism into economic progress, political stability, and lasting reform.
Mamoon Rashid, analyst and chairperson of Financial Excellence, joins me now from Bangladesh, Dhaka. Hello to you, Mr. Mamoon. What I first want to understand is, the earlier estimates were, before the elections, that it's going to be a neck-and-neck competition. But we know how the numbers have come in. Given how the numbers are stacked currently, do you think it gives a lot of free will to Tarique Rahman to do what he wanted to do during the election campaign?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Tarique Rahman, as you have seen, has pulled the entire party to this status. Now we see that they have acquired a 2/3 majority, if not a little more than that, to be the commanding party in the parliament. And today, all the members of the parliament have sworn in. And Mr. Tarique Rahman, not because he has kept the party together during 16 years of his exile in UK, after coming back, he has also came up with a new plan to keep the party together, to take the party to the people for their obtaining their mandate. And now, today, where he is now, and we are looking forward with confidence towards a better political transition, better democratic graduation, as well as better running of the country.
That's an interesting point you're making. As far as reactions are concerned, we know how people have reacted. They have, of course, voted him in. But what about reactions from particular sectors, the business community, those interested in security, national security, or those interested in foreign relations? How are they receiving this verdict as?
Yes, this is very important because BNP is known as a pro-business party, political party, as well as Mr. Tarique Rahman, after winning the victory in the parliament, he has categorically mentioned about his priorities. One is, of course, bringing back confidence to the business community and towards economic recovery, and more importantly, bringing in or establishing law and order, and third, yes, smooth political transition, so that he can implement all his 31 points charter as well as election manifesto. And he has also charted out that yes, relationship with the large development partner countries, large markets, as well as neighbors will be his priority.
It's interesting you said that neighbors are going to be his priorities. And when we are talking about priorities, has Tarique Rahman so far got time to maybe sign a few documents, execute some of his plans? Just to add to that, just walk us through what are his top plans and priorities for the country. If you could tell us about the top 3 or the top 5, and if he has got some time to sign some of them.
Yes, today is swearing in of the cabinet, both full ministers and the state ministers. We have seen this is a kind of a teaming up between the senior minds who has run the country in the past while BNP was in power, as well as some of the young, vibrant, and forward-looking, well-educated minds. So we think that with this kind of positive kind of coalition between both sides or both ends of the say elected members of the parliament, they can pull the things together. And as they have shared their priorities, I'm that we have got good days awaiting the entire nation. And he has categorically mentioned that entire priority of his government will be kind of a reconciliation as well as recouping from the wounds that have been created in Bangladesh in the recent past, or even during the rule of the political party who has ruled the country for almost 15.5 years or so.
Yeah, you're right about wounds of the past, because it's going to take some time for wounds to heal. But before we let you go, Mamoon, I have one final question for you. At South Iran Network, of course, we are very interested in understanding everything through the prism of South Asian perspective. So to go back to your point about his foreign policy, we know the kind of equations that's been with India and Pakistan. We know how even China, and if you have to go very far, even the US is very keen on how things actually turn out. What's your assessment as a seasoned analyst, especially from the financial perspective? What's your analysis? Do you think Tarique Rahman would, in a way, navigate this very, very pragmatically?
Yes, this is a very important challenge, balancing between all the axes like US, India, China, and European Union. These are the four. See, if you tell me to bucket them in. So India is our neighbor. India is also we have got economic and health care dependency on India, and so we have seen after the death of our late Prime Minister Tarique Rahman's mother, Mrs. Begum Jia. Our Indian National Affairs Minister has flown in, and afterwards, Indian Upper House, Lower House, they have all unitedly passed on the condolences for late Khaleda Jia, as well as in today's swearing in also, Indian Speaker of the Parliament has come in.
Yeah.
So these are all gesture of goodwill, as well as there are representation from other SAARC countries. So as you know, Mr. Tarique Rahman has been always telling that yes, he wants to revitalize the SAARC, as well as he wants to invigorate the intra-SAARC or intra-South Asia trade, as well as Finance and Planning Minister Mr. Amir Kusum Mahmood Choudhury has also reiterated that he wants to see more inter-sub-regional trade with other South Asian countries, as well as prominent role in trade with China, European Union, as well as more market access for made in Bangladesh commodities to the US and North American markets.
Oh, yes.
So that puts Bangladesh in a very promising situation that yes, we want to mend all our relationship and we want to look forward with confidence under the leadership of our new Prime Minister, Mr. Tarique Rahman.
We'll leave it there, Mr. Mamoon. Of course, we have so much to talk about this, and we'll come back to you as and when we have more updates. But thank you so much, Mr. Mamoon, for helping us decode what this really means for Bangladesh. And at South Era Network, as I said, we are interested in also understanding what it means for South Asia. Thank you so much, Mr. Mamoon, for helping us put that story into perspective. To sum up that conversation with Mamoon, Tarique Rahman has his task cut out for him. No space or breather whatsoever. The citizens of Bangladesh have high expectations. The time for promises is over. It is now time for the delivery. Let's now also talk about the years of political tension and concerns from human rights organizations that Bangladesh has faced over the years. And to discuss that in detail, let's go across to David Bergman, someone who very closely analyzes Bangladesh. He joins me live from London. Hello to you, David. The first question that I want to ask is, from your perspective, what does this political transition mean for human rights and democratic freedoms in Bangladesh?
I should just correct you that I'm in Dhaka at the moment. Well, people are certainly hoping that it will be a significant step change. The experience of people under the Awami League government, which was in power between 2007 and 2024, although the Awami League first came into power in a landslide election, it increasingly became authoritarian, and the human rights situation significantly deteriorated. There was very limited press freedom, freedom of expression, huge governance problems. The elections were not free and fair, not participatory as the Awami League went on. So that's, of course, one of the reasons why, in fact, the Awami League was thrown out of power through this protest uprising. And certainly people are hoping that with a new elected government under the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, things will significantly change. People are obviously concerned that when the BNP was in power last, which is a long time ago, between 2001 and 2006, it didn't exactly have the best record. It was also known for corruption and poor human rights standards. But clearly, Tarique Rahman, the new leader of the BNP, is trying to present the party as having been one that's learned its lessons and has transformed. So we'll have to wait to see whether or not the human rights situations will change.
And David, also help me understand, what does this verdict mean? The kind of numbers that Tarique has received, the kind of support that he has received from people. Of course, he now has that greater sense of responsibility because of the kind of faith people have reposed in him. How would that play out vis-a-vis Tarique Rahman's handling of human rights as well as democratic freedom issues in Bangladesh?
Well, he has a two-thirds majority. I don't think anyone really expected, certainly towards the end of the election campaign, that he would have that level of majority, because his competitor, Jamaat-e-Islami, appeared to be doing much better than it finally did. With that two-thirds majority, certainly there is a lot of expectation on him. He has a lot of human rights challenges, in particular relating to the arbitrary detentions of Awami League activists and politicians, many who are currently in detention at the moment on the basis of no evidence. How he deals with that in a context of a country that often seeks retribution from many of these people, even when there is insufficient evidence to prosecute, is going to be a significant challenge for him. Clearly, freedom of the media is also important. That was very poor under the final years of the Awami League government. It has certainly improved in many ways under the last 18 months of interim government. So people will be hoping that the new won freedoms in the media will remain the same and also improve, because one of the problems that has happened over the last 18 months is that new populist groups, particularly around students and Islamic groups, have become much more powerful and have exerted a certain pressure on the media to take a particular path and to speak opinions. So obviously the BNP is going to have to deal with that problem.
Thanks so much, David, for helping us make sense of that very crucial aspect defining Bangladesh for so many years now. All right, Let's not talk about money. The United States has set tariffs at 18% for India and 19% for Bangladesh and Pakistan. That 1-point gap could shift billions in both trade and jobs across South Asia. Take a look at this 8-minute detailed explainer from South Iran Network's Michael Shaguri.
The United States just reset its tariff posture towards South Asia, and it happened fast. In early February 2026, Washington landed on tariff levels that are now tightly clustered, 18% for India and 19% for both Bangladesh and Pakistan. On paper, that 1 percentage point difference sounds minor. In global trade, it isn't. 1 point can decide where the next billion-dollar sourcing contract goes, especially in price-sensitive sectors like apparel and textiles. But to understand why this matters, you have to zoom out and look at the broader trade picture. Let's start with scale. According to the U.S. Trade Representative, total U.S. goods and services trade with India reached roughly $212 billion in 2024. Goods trade alone was nearly $129 billion. India is by far Washington's largest trade partner in South Asia. By comparison, U.S. goods and services trade with Bangladesh totaled about $12 billion, and with Pakistan about $10 billion in 2024. So while Bangladesh and Pakistan are important, India operates in a completely different economic tier. Now, what's actually being traded? From India to the United States, major exports include textiles and apparel, pharmaceuticals, gems and diamonds, chemicals, machinery, and various manufactured goods. From the United States to India, exports include energy products, industrial machinery, aircraft parts, and agricultural goods. Agriculture is especially sensitive. Market access for U.S. dairy, poultry, and certain crops has long been a sticking point in negotiations. Bangladesh's relationship is more concentrated. Its economy is heavily dependent on ready-made garments. Apparel accounts for more than 80% of Bangladesh's export earnings and employs roughly 4 million workers, according to reporting from Reuters and data cited by the International Labor Organization. Global brands such as H&M, Zara, Uniqlo, Levi's, and VF Corp source heavily from Bangladesh. Pakistan's exports to the United States are also dominated by textiles and related goods. The U.S. Trade Representative reports that total goods trade between the U.S. and Pakistan was around $7 billion in 2024, with the United States importing significantly more from Pakistan than it exports there. So these are not abstract numbers. They represent supply chains feeding American retail stores and industrial buyers. Now let's talk about how we got here. During President Trump's second term, tariffs have been used less as a one-time punishment and more as a negotiation tool. A Congressional Research Service report describes the administration's expanded use of authorities like IEEPA and Section 232 to raise tariffs broadly and then negotiate adjustments on a country-by-country basis. In practical terms, tariffs go up first. Negotiations follow. Reductions are conditional. And that's exactly what happened across South Asia. Let's start with India. In the summer of 2025, Washington imposed steep punitive tariffs on Indian goods.
Indian goods imported into the US face a 50% tariff.
The move was tied directly to India's continued purchases of Russian oil following the war in Ukraine. Reporting from Reuters and Politico at the time described the tariff hike as a response to India's energy relationship with Moscow. India had become one of the largest buyers of discounted Russian crude. In the first 9 months of 2025, India was importing around 1.9 million barrels per day of Russian oil, accounting for roughly 40% of Russia's seaborne exports in that period. Even later in 2025, imports were still running at around 1.4 to 1.5 million barrels per day. From Washington's perspective, Russian oil revenue supports Moscow's war effort, so trade pressure became leverage. Fast forward to late January and early February 2026. U.S. and Indian officials finalized an interim trade framework.
Under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi and President Trump, they have come to a very fair, equitable, and balanced agreement which will slash U.S. reciprocal tariffs on Indian goods to 18%. Additionally, 0% tariffs will be given on several products like generic pharma, aircraft, components, auto parts, etc.
The United States rolled back the punitive tariffs, lowering India's effective rate to 18%. The rollback was tied to India halting Russian oil purchases and reducing certain trade barriers. In other words, Tariff relief came with conditions. But this created political tension inside India. Indian farm unions and opposition parties warned that expanded US access, especially in agriculture, could hurt local producers. India has millions of small farmers, and agricultural policy is politically explosive. Opening markets to large-scale US agricultural exports can be framed domestically as threatening livelihoods. So India gets a lower tariff rate, 18%, but at the cost of domestic political pressure and strategic recalibration. Now let's move to Bangladesh. Bangladesh landed at 19%, but the structure of its deal matters more than the headline number. Statements from the White House indicate that the United States introduced a carve-out, zero tariffs for certain garments made using US cotton or synthetic inputs. That's a strategic supply chain incentive. It effectively says, use American materials and you get better access.
This will be really a good advantage if we can do it in practically. So there are some challenges as well to implement it, but the bottom line is this is a good advantage if you can take it. Because for example, just an example, like if you are reducing your reciprocal tariff by 1%, it's 1%. But if you can make your product with that cotton from USA, you can reduce by 19%. So of course this will be a big impact in practical if you can implement it.
For Bangladesh, this isn't primarily about geopolitics. It's about jobs. With over 4 million workers in the garment sector and more than 80% of export earnings tied to apparel, even small tariff shifts can have nationwide economic consequences. Bangladesh's leadership has focused on protecting factory employment and maintaining competitiveness against regional rivals. Now Pakistan. Pakistan also sits at 19%. In mid-2025, Islamabad negotiated down from a proposed 29% tariff rate. Textiles, Pakistan's largest export category to the US, were central to those negotiations. Pakistan hasn't announced a new deal this week, but the convergence of rates matters. When India sits at 18% and Bangladesh at 19%, Pakistan loses any clear tariff advantage. It now competes on reliability, compliance, political stability, and labor conditions, not just price. So why does India get that extra 1% edge? Because India offers Washington something the others don't: strategic leverage. Reuters reporting tied India's tariff rollback directly to commitments around Russian oil and market access. India's energy decisions affect global oil flows. Its geopolitical alignment affects broader US strategy in Asia. Bangladesh and Pakistan do not carry the same weight in that equation. That 1% difference is symbolic. It reflects bargaining power. And this is the bigger takeaway. Between the summer of 2025 and February 2026, US trade policy toward South Asia operated as a conditional system. Tariffs were raised sharply, negotiations followed, concessions were extracted, rates were recalibrated. When tariff rates converge this tightly, sourcing decisions shift beyond the headline numbers. Companies ask who can deliver consistently, who faces lower political risk, and who is less likely to be hit with the next surprise policy change. Tariffs make headlines, supply chains decide outcomes, and in South Asia right now, those supply chains are being quietly reshaped, 1 percentage point at a time.
Now, after that 8-minute-long detailed explainer, let's get you something fun. Millions of people around the world are celebrating the start of China's Lunar New Year, a 15-day mega festival. In accordance with the Chinese zodiac, this year marks the year of the horse. To understand what does all of that mean, how big is this, how do authentic celebrations really look like in China, I had an amazing fun chat with Shang Lija, a social commentator and writer based in London. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on that one. Take a look. Tell us a bit about the year of the snake and the year of the horse. Walk us through all the superstitions involved. I was just reading through all of them, and it's really interesting to hear about them. Help us understand what they do all mean. How big is this?
It's a big deal, of course. Chinese New Year, Spring Festival, is the biggest festival of the whole year. So the Chinese zodiac runs on a 12-year cycle. And what makes Chinese zodiac richer compared to the Western zodiac is that it combines with 5 elements, 5 essential elements like fire, earth, metal, and so on. So that creates a 60-year cycle. So this coming year will be the year of 5 horse. 5 horse in Chinese is called 丙午年. So a year of 5 horse is associated with potential turbulence and dramatic changes.
And by dramatic changes, you mean positive changes, negative changes? Does the year of the horse signify anything in particular?
Yes, it's the fire can create energy, but it can be destructive. So many people are wearing red. Red is an auspicious color. It can supposedly drive away the evil spirit.
Yeah, just before the show, you did tell us about that, and that's why I am wearing as big as red I could find in a short amount of time. So thank you so much for that suggestion. I hope it brings great luck to us at South Era Network. We're just starting and we're building our audience. So thank you so much for that suggestion. But walk us through about what really happened the last year. I believe it wasn't considered a great year. And now there is a lot of hope because Year of the Horse is supposed to be about movement, about positivity. So is that correct reading of the Chinese New Year?
Well, it depends who you talk to. I think some people are a bit concerned about this coming year because last round was 1966, which was a disastrous year for China. In that year, Chairman Mao launched the Great Cultural Revolution, which turned China upside down, pushed the economy to the brink of a collapse. And the last round is 1906, which was also a bad year. So up to 25 million people died in floods and other disasters. So some are quite concerned because right now China's economy is not doing great. It has not fully recovered from the COVID, and the youth unemployment is very high, and the real estate bubble may burst, and the international environment is very turbulent. So some people are quite concerned.
So fingers crossed, let's hope 2026 is not a repeat of 1966. But I'm really keen on understanding, John. Help me understand. So how does your day start on the day of the new year? For instance, walk me through how did your day start? How did you wake up? What's the first ritual you do? Do you meet your friends, families? Do you visit any place of significance? What do you eat? Walk us through those traditions.
The big deal was actually the New Year Eve dinner, the night before.
Okay.
So on that day, the family will sit down and make a big dinner called a reunion dinner. 团圆饭. So every family member is supposed to join. And I think to be honest with you, when I was a child, I absolutely lived for the Chinese New Year because that was the only time we could eat meat and other good dishes. Back then, China was so poor. Food was, and basic things like rice, cooking oil, meat was all rationed.
Super interesting.
At the Chinese New Year, my mother, who worked for state-owned enterprise, she'll get some good food like ham from the factory. We'll make a big feast. So anyway, so the big deal for the Chinese New Year festival is the reunion dinner on the New Year Eve. And at 12 o'clock on that day, people will let off firecrackers and fireworks. And also children would get the lucky money. Parents will stuff some coins in a red envelope and put it under children's pillow. So when we wake up on the first day, we'll receive some lucky money. And today, children get a huge amount of money from their parents and grandparents. So today is the first day of the new year. In China, there will be many happy children. with a big, heavy pocket.
Yeah, it's always festivals. I guess it's so sweet that you mentioned that. I guess there are so many common themes when I think about festivals all across the globe in different cultures, different religions. But at the core of it, how a layman, how a common man really celebrates these festivals, there are so many common themes, and you have triggered a lot of hunger pangs here. So at South Era Network, we are sure going to be ordering a lot of Chinese food there. But before we let you go, are we expecting any sort of a big gathering in China, in Beijing, which is organized by the government? Can we keep an eye on that? Because we're really interested in witnessing, at least visually, and showing to our viewers at South Era Network, how does it look like visually at a mega scale?
On the Chinese New Year Eve, the family often enjoy the dinner and also watch the New Year Gala. So every year on the New Year's Eve, the government organizes this big deal, this Chinese New Year Gala show. And I think there will be another one this evening, probably less grand.
I'm so keen on understanding more, learning more, but I understand that you have a festival to celebrate. You have a New Year to celebrate. So we'll let you go. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really, we are in gratitude for you walking us through the nitty-gritty of the Chinese New Year. Thank you so much for joining us today at South Era Network. Happy New Year to you. Goodbye.
Happy.
Look forward to attending Tuen Ninh Fan, the reunion dinner in China one day. So if any one of you is from China watching this, do send us an invite. So you heard in words from Zhang Lijia about the scale of celebrations, fireworks, delicious Chinese food. But let's now visually show you how all of that actually looks like. My colleague Stephanie Haddad spent the weekend working on this extremely colorful report to give you a realistic window into authentic Chinese celebrations. Take a look.
New Year that lasts 15 days comes with fireworks, cash gifts, and a zodiac animal that sets the tone for your entire year. That's Chinese New Year, and this year, it's the Year of the Horse. Chinese New Year, also called the Spring Festival, is the biggest holiday in China and across Asian communities worldwide. It doesn't follow January 1st. It runs on the lunar calendar, shifting between late January and mid-February each year. So what's horse energy all about? In Chinese zodiac culture, the horse represents speed, confidence, freedom, and going after what you want without hesitation. This is not a sit-still year. This is a move, risk-chase your goals year. People born in the horse years are seen as independent, charismatic, hardworking, and natural leaders. They hate feeling stuck and thrive on momentum, which is exactly the vibe of 2026. If last year was about healing and reflecting, this year is about action and progress. Before the new year arrives, families deep clean their homes to sweep out bad luck and make room for good fortune. Then comes their reunion dinner, one of the most important meals of the year. You will see red envelopes stuffed with cash for luck, lion and dragon dances to scare off negativity, fireworks lighting up the sky, and red decoration everywhere. Red means protection and prosperity. Even the food is symbolic. Dumplings for wealth, fish for abundance, oranges for good fortune, long noodles for long life. You are literally eating your way to a better year. And this celebration isn't just happening in China. Cities around the world throw parades and festivals. It's also the largest annual human migration on Earth, with millions traveling home to be with family. So if your 2026 mood is "I'm done waiting, I'm going for it," you are perfectly aligned with the horse. This isn't just a new year, it's a global reset button.
I'm sure you want to watch that report again. We'll shortly be uploading that on our social media platform, South Era Network. If you haven't followed us yet, this is the time you should follow us right away. From China, let's take you to India, where France President Emmanuel Macron currently is. India and France are looking to strengthen ties, launching what they are calling a new year of innovation. During French President Emmanuel Macron's visit to Mumbai, Prime Minister Narendra Modi says the initiative will link startups, researchers and industries across defense, clean energy, space and emerging technologies. Two leaders held high-level talks and jointly inaugurated a Tata Airbus helicopter assembly facility, underlining growing defense cooperation. This visit focuses on technology, investment and strengthening one of India's key strategic partnerships in Europe. And now let's get you speed news. A quick look at stories making headlines around the world. The United States has deployed about 100 military personnel to northern Nigeria as security threats from Boko Haram and ISIL-linked groups continue to intensify. Nigerian Defense Headquarters says the troops arrived this week in northern eastern region of Bauchi. The move is part of expanded counter-terror cooperation between the two countries. In Myanmar now, the military government has ordered East Timor's top diplomat to leave the country after a legal complaint filed abroad accused the junta of war crimes linked to the 2021 coup. The junta has called the action foreign interference. As international pressure over human rights continues to build, and finally, the global energy markets are on edge. Analysts say oil prices could spike if talks involving Iran break down or if regional tensions escalate. Trade warned that even the uncertainty is already driving volatility, not just in energy, but across commodities and key shipping routes. Globally, more and more Gen Zs are opting for healthier lifestyles. It's something that is translating into how they party too. In Pakistan's certain city of Karachi, sober raves are becoming the new trend. Sarah Gill reports.
The music is pumping, the dance floor is packed, but there's not a drop of alcohol in sight. This is the new party code spreading around the world as more and more Gen Zs opt for sober lifestyles. In Karachi, Pakistan's southern megacity, these events are happening at local sports clubs, with partygoers even able to burn a few extra calories on the paddle court.
It's a sober party, it's a sober event, and you'll see a lot of Gen Zs and young generation wanting to come to such events without having the intake of drugs. So I really like this event, and I hope people become more aware and start having these events for the coming generation.
Pakistan prohibited alcohol for Muslim citizens in 1977, but sociologists say that young people are bringing nightlife out into the open, making it work within the boundaries of their faith.
They are not going beyond the Islam, and they are following halal things, no sex, no alcohol. It means they are following all the norms of Islam.
Sports clubs, coffee shops, art galleries and co-working spaces are all hosting events like this. So, in a city of nearly 19 million people, this is what nightlife is beginning to look like. Sarah Gill, South Era Network.
Such videos are going viral on social media. People are uploading how Pakistan really knows how to party and they don't need alcohol for that. And finally, back to Lunar New Year, where in China, an unlikely toy has become a sensation. Shoppers are lining up for a crying horse. It was actually supposed to be smiling, but a factory stitching error flipped the mouth upside down. Many young workers say the gloomy little horse perfectly captures modern workplace stress, turning a mistake into a moment for relatable humor. On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of South Era Report. We'll be back same time tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching.